The Wimpole Way, 15 miles from Cambridge to Wimpole Hall in May 2025. Like the Clopton Way, I had previously walked all the various stages of the Wimpole Way on many occasions because it is very close to my home in Cambridgeshire, but it was not until May 2025 that I finally walked the whole trail in one day with my friend Judy. The Wimpole Way is a natural continuation of the Greensand Ridgeway and the Clopton Way, thus creating a 64-mile long-distance walk. We walked it from east to west, in other words, from Cambridge to Wimpole, passing through the villages of Coton, Hardwick, Caldicot and Kingston. In the past, the clay upland which this trail traverses was densely forested until it was cleared by Anglo-Saxon settlers. Some of this woodland can still be seen in the woods in Hardwick, Kingston and Eversden. These woods are dominated by field maple, ash and hazel trees, along with bluebells, oxlips, dog's mercury and primroses in the spring. Most of the trail follows ancient trackways which link the Cam Valley with Ermine Street, such as the Wimpole Way and the Port Way, dating as far back as Roman times, and maybe even earlier. Judy and I caught the bus into Cambridge and procured essential beverages from a great little stall on the market to power us on our way. The start, or end, of the Wimpole Way outside Great St Mary's Church, Cambridge. And we're off, heading down to the river along Trinity Lane and past one of the entrances to Trinity College. The River Cam, seen from Clare Bridge in the early morning before all the tourists arrive. Cambridge University Library. Signage. The Plough in Coton. A charming house in Coton. St Peter's Church, Coton. Bus shelter covered with Virginia creeper in Coton. Typical trail between Coton and Hardwick. Remembrance Day decor outside St Mary's Church, seen during a previous walk in Hardwick on the 9th of November 2018. The trail crosses the Greenwich Meridian line just to the west of Hardwick, although this is pretty unremarkable because there are no signs showing exactly where it crosses. Walking along the edge of Hardwick Wood in Caldicot. Several years previously, and very close to this section of the trail, I suddenly and unexpectedly entered into an alternate state of consciousness, a different dimension of existence where reality shifted and was vibrating at a different frequency to our current one, what I call the shimmer. Once again I was shown the magical nature of our landscape and became acutely aware of the certainty that all of creation is founded on something very powerful and very beautiful, if only we can tune into it. The energy in this area seems to be special. Maybe one of those places where the veils between the worlds are thinner. St Michael and All Angels Church, Caldicot. The energy here was inexplicably sinister. Simple but very effective floral arrangement in the porch of Lower Caldicot Church, consisting of alliums and green alkanet. I used to wonder why this plant is called green when it has blue flowers. The answer is that its Latin name means evergreen, In other words, it retains its leaves throughout the winter. It has edible flowers. The roots produce a red dye, and in the past it has been used for treating leprosy, jaundice, and back pain. The Church of All Saints and St Andrew in Kingston, where we had our lunch. This church has some of the finest medieval wall paintings in East Anglia, including a late 13th century depiction of two knights in the chancel, a so-called psychomachia, or battle of the soul, often depicted as a battle between good and evil. On the right is a depiction of a horned demon, on the left, symbolizing the 7 deadly sins, and a wheel above, symbolizing the 7 acts of mercy. Depiction of the crucifixion with 3 pairs of angels over the chancel and late 16th century black letter texts above the nave arcade. Depiction of St George and the Dragon. The Old Rectory, Kingston, the former home of an old school friend and where I used to play sometimes as a child. The water pump in Kingston. Looking back towards Cambridge in the very far distance from Cranes Lane between Kingston and Wimpole Hall. Did we really walk all that way? Creative shelter in the woods on the Wimpole estate. Looking towards the lake and the folly behind Wimpole Hall. Sheep in the park at Wimpole Hall. Judy celebrating at the end of the trail in front of Wimpole Hall. Wimpole Hall is an impressive 18th century house built on a former medieval settlement, and the home of the daughter of Rudyard Kipling and her husband for 40 years during the mid-20th century. It was bequeathed to the National Trust on her death in 1976. The hall stands in 3,000 acres of parkland and farmland. The northern side of the hall was landscaped by Capability Brown and includes a serpentine lake and a fake Gothic folly. Lessons learnt. Local walks are equally delightful. Our churches used to be much more colourful than they are now. Nearly every church in medieval England was adorned with beautiful wall paintings, colourful statues and stained glass windows. This all changed during the Reformation under Henry VIII and Edward VI, when many of the statues were destroyed and the walls of churches were whitewashed. We live in a magical landscape.